Hey everyone, it's thrifting time. The first store we'll be taking a look at in this episode is a Goodwill that Mark found on his way out of town recently. This one's located in Sun Lakes, Arizona, which is pretty much a retirement community, so we thought we might find some interesting stuff here. Over in the media section, I found some Shovelware Pc Games, including this copy of Luxor 3, and I'm pretty sure they still sell this at Walmart, but look at the old system requirements there. It says 2007. But I'm pretty sure they still sell that. And they also had some booty as well. And then down here at the bottom were some DS games, and usually when I find these over in the media section, the cases are empty, like the games have been stolen, but surprisingly, the games were still in these cases. I wasn't really interested in the Ben 10 game, but I did find this Lego Star Wars 3 game interesting, and this one was complete. It had the game and the manual in there. I thought about grabbing this, but I don't really have time to play this. I don't have a lot of time to play video games lately, and the time that I do have has been mostly taken up by the new Pokemon Legends Arceus game. Now this was kind of interesting as well. This is some more PC games, and this case that they're in is super generic, so I figured this was probably something bootleg. But then when I opened the case up, I saw that these are legitimate PC games. They're all board games from Hasbro. And I thought, okay, well maybe these are still bootleg, maybe they're burned discs or something, but they're actual pressed CDs. I don't think I've ever seen anything in this generic of a case and have it turn out not to be bootleg. Over in the electronics section was a pretty decent VCR. It's a JVC model number HR-A591U. When I recently released my VHS tape, people were asking where would I even get a VCR from? You get it from Goodwill. And as you can see, they're really cheap, like $3.50. I looked this model up on eBay and it looks like it can go for over $100, so that's a pretty good deal. Also over in the electronics was this old alarm clock with wood grain, and I just kind of really liked the look of this. I do prefer my alarm clocks to have a radio, like AM FM radio, because I prefer to be woken up to music instead of that awful blaring noise. Now this one over here does have a radio. This is from Kentech, which I've never heard of, and I got a good laugh out of that simulated wood sticker. There is no way anybody thought that was real wood, right? Here's the model number on the bottom. It's R-1200, and if this one wasn't so beat up, like if it happened to look like it was in pristine condition, I might have picked it up. Mark found a giant beer stein. This was the kind of crap I was expecting to find here. The markings on the bottom were kind of interesting. It says West Germany on there, so this thing's old enough that there was a West Germany when it was made. Now this is kind of cool. I found this over in the media section, but I took it over somewhere where I could get a better look at it. This is Old Time Radio's Greatest Hits. It's a big cassette tape collection of all kinds of old radio shows. Whenever I find collections of old radio programs like this, they're always on cassette tape and never on CD. And this collection has quite a few tapes. And there's also a catalog in here as well with all kinds of other cassette tape collections they have. This one actually has some CDs listed as well in here. But I only ever find these kind of collections at thrift stores on cassette tape. And a lot of times I'll look at the year on the packaging, and it'll be a much later year than I would expect to see on cassette tape packaging. And I wonder if that's just because, you know, the old people that listen to this kind of stuff just used cassette tapes a lot longer and never switched over to CDs. There is a lot of tapes in this collection, and this would take up so much less space if they were CDs. Now you can have this kind of collection and have it take up no space though, because you could just put it on a thumb drive or something. Now here's something I've never seen before in person. These knives are the Ronco Showstopper knives. They used to run infomercials for these where they would show them cutting up, you know, things like cans and all kinds of weird stuff, and they would make wild claims about how high quality they are. Well, I have to tell you, these knives are the flimsiest pieces of crap that I've ever held before, and a lot of them are rusted. And they're so light, they weigh like nothing, they feel like toys. Now, I think this is like an original Nordic track from when they first came out. That bottom piece is actually wood, and it slid really well too. It actually felt like it would still work, but then we gave the hand parts a tug, and they felt like all rusted and bound up and everything. I was trying to convince Mark to get on it and give it a shot, but he wouldn't do it. No, this is gross. This is a 2001 coffee gift set, and there's still coffee in it. That coffee is 21 years old. That coffee's old enough to go to the bar. There was part of me that was tempted to grab this just to see if like the coffee was moldy or anything, but not for $5.50. Like if it was like $2 or $3 maybe. When I saw Dana Point, California on the back, I had to look and see if that Impressa Gifts place was still around, because I actually really like Dana Point, California. I've been there a few times, but that Impressa Gifts place isn't around anymore. Now this mirror, this gave me very strong 80s vibes with that different lighting for day, office, evening, and home. This is again some of the crap that I expected to find at a Goodwill that's in a retirement community. Now, I wanted to flip the mirror around to see how it worked and what the different mirrors were on each side. I didn't notice at the time I had it focused on Mark's ass after that. While I was looking in the board games, this box caught my eye, the one that said toilet fishing, because I was like, what is that? And this is what it is, and this is the most boomery thing to boomer that's ever boomered. This is ridiculous. It reminds me of like the cheap gifts that they roll out at like Sears and Macy's during Christmas time, except for I don't think I've ever seen anything this stupid. If I really wanted to fish while I was sitting on the can, I'd just play a fishing game on my phone. Speaking of the toilet, did you know that Thomas Kincaid viewed the world as his toilet? According to the Wikipedia article on him, he was into ritual territory marking, which I didn't know was a thing. And apparently one time he took a leak on a Winnie the Pooh statue at the Disneyland Hotel while saying, "This one's for you, Walt." So there's your art history lesson for today. The painter of light liked to paint with piss, apparently. And from that, we move to a farting monkey. This episode is fantastic.
Pull my finger!
Unfortunately, even though it turned on, it didn't really do anything when we pulled the finger. Grandpas love the pull my finger joke, so I guess this makes sense at this store also. On the way out, we spotted this desk, and Mark said something that I totally agree with. This would look totally at home in like a private investigator's office in like an old film noir movie. You could almost picture like the old desk lamp with the green glass shade on it. It needed a little TLC, but if somebody was willing to put the time and effort into this, this could be a really awesome desk. This was interesting too. I pulled out this little extender here, and this is a map of Maricopa County, it looks like. I wonder if this was like a dispatcher's desk or something. I know it's cliche to say, but they really don't make furniture like this anymore. I mean, this thing was really solid and it weighed a ton. This was a fairly interesting Goodwill store to look at. I figured with it being in a big retirement community that there would be some weird old crap here, and I think that's exactly what we found. Now let's move on to our second store. The second location is in Chandler, Arizona, and I actually filmed this 4 or 5 years ago for a video way back when Goodwill used to sponsor my thrifting videos, and they let me film the inside of it right before its grand opening. I think this is the first time I've been to this store since its grand opening. Like most Goodwills, this store had its selection of PS2 and Xbox 360 sports games, but down here on the bottom is a big box PC game. I rarely find these at Goodwill anymore, and they're also something that I do collect. This is Falcon 4.0 from Microprose, and they're one of my favorite old PC game publishers. The original Xcom UFO Defense for MS-DOS is one of my favorite games of all time, but I don't have this one from Microprose, so I was pretty excited to find this. This is a later release of the game when I think Hasbro had purchased Microprose at this point. But this game looked to be complete. It had all the manuals and books and everything. I am definitely going to grab this for my collection. Do any of you remember reading Highlights magazine as a kid in the waiting room when you went to the dentist or the doctor? Well, here's something from Highlights that I don't think I've ever seen before. These are top secret adventures. And these look like little game and education packs for different regions. Like this one looks like it's all about Mexico, and there's like a little storyline adventure that goes with it. And there were several of them here. Some of them were unopened. I'm guessing this was a subscription service, and I'm sure they weren't cheap. I remember looking into things like this when my kid was little, and they were expensive. The Ruckus in the Rio. That is a great name. What? Oh, look, here's a wine glass that's also a wine bottle. Finally, a wine glass that fits my needs. Haha, casual alcoholism. And here's a whole set of dinner plates and bowls and coffee mugs in the worst color that I've ever seen for that kind of thing. And they're from JCPenney of all places. It says Chris Madden on the bottom. I'm not sure when these are from or what they cost originally. I tried to look on the internet, but I couldn't really find any information on this set in particular. Hey, it's our friend the farting monkey again. Brand new in the box. Apparently this was called Electronic Pull My Finger, and his butt inflates, much to those children's delight. What a weird game. It looks like this is actually a game, not a toy. Maybe we just hadn't pulled the finger enough times on the first one that we found. I don't think its butt would have inflated though, because it was all blown out. Wait. Now here's something kind of interesting. It's a Star Trek The Next Generation VCR board game, and it looks like it features Gowron quite a bit. I notice it says it's a limited collector's edition and it's numbered, but how many of these did they make? You notice it doesn't say that, it's just got a number on it. This is actually something I wouldn't mind having just to mess around with, but it turns out I can get one in much better condition on eBay for pretty cheap, so I just left this one here. It'd be interesting to see what's on the VHS tape, but I'm sure a copy of it's already been ripped and uploaded somewhere. I also found this over in the board games. Mindstorm's Vision Command. It's a robot creator thing with a little webcam that hooks up to your PC. And it says it's for Windows 98, so I'm a big fan of Legos and, old PC software and games, so this is something I'm definitely going to go ahead and pick up. The box is a little banged up, but it did look like it was complete inside. I always love looking at the system requirements on old things like this. Holy crap, there's a QuickTime logo. Now here's something I've never seen at Goodwill before. A tanning bed for $300. This is also probably one of the most expensive things I've ever seen at Goodwill. It looks like it's in fairly good shape too. I don't know anything about tanning beds. Of course I had to open it up and take a look inside. Definitely don't want to touch anywhere inside there though. Apparently this is a SunQuest Pro 24 RS. What a weird thing to find at Goodwill. I think that's where we'll wrap up this episode of Thrifting Time. I was pretty happy to add 2 big box PC games to my collection, although one of these isn't really a game, it's a Lego set with a webcam. I'm a big fan of Lego, so I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this as well. If I end up being able to get it to work, I'll probably do a little video on it on my second channel. And if you didn't know that I had a second channel, I'll put a link to it down in the description below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Want to see your name here? Head on over to patreon.com/retailarchaeology to find out how you can help support the channel. Thanks for checking out this episode of Thrifting Time. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and if you're into seeing weird crap at thrift stores, I've got a whole playlist here of my Thrifting Time episodes. And lastly, make sure to follow at the social media links down there because that's the best way to keep up with what's going on with the channel.